Yeah, I do think that's a little surprising, that the pharmaceuticals are kind of, I think they're jumping the gun, getting ahead of themselves a little bit. I think at this point in time, we really need to continue to follow what the CDC has been recommending around that, as well as, other protocols related to COVID. But yeah, I think it's definitely getting ahead of themselves. Americans who are fully vaccinated do not need a booster at this time. Now, they might down the road, but right now, all of the research is indicating that if you are fully vaccinated, you are very much protected against a COVID infection. Now, that's not to say that there can't be a breakthrough infection, because there are. But obviously the big advantage to being vaccinated is the intent really of the vaccine is to prevent getting seriously ill, where you would need hospitalization and death. And so far, that is exactly what has occurred. The vaccine is doing its job in that area. So the CDC and NIH, they all are engaged in robust clinical trials and science-driven data. And as of right now, a booster is not needed. Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think that will be this soon in the process. I think that's going to be a very heavy lift. We're having enough troubles getting the first dose of a Pfizer or any of the vaccines into arms. We are at, in Steuben County, almost 53% of individuals 18 and over have had their first dose of the vaccine. So people are going to be hesitant. They already have some vaccine hesitancy, and if they are, I am assuming, if they are observing a company like Pfizer getting ahead of themselves and asking the FDA for this emergency use authorization for a booster, that's not going to send the right message at this point in time. I think the time to do that is when we hear from the CDC that in fact clinical trials have proven that a booster is essential in our mission to completely mitigate any of the COVID, the infection, the illness, the sickness, the death. Yeah, I do think it kind of smacks of just are things being handled in the right way? Is there ulterior motives for Pfizer wanting to kind of get ahead of the game and get ahead of the experts' advice and of clinical trials in requesting this emergency use authorization? It just, when there's already vaccine hesitancy out there, to introduce this this extra layer of protection now before it's being advised to do so is it's going to be difficult. People are going to question it, and they should. They need to question those kinds of things. And like I've said, even with the first with all of the vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, everyone needs to do their research. They need to read for themselves. The peer-reviewed literature to find out what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, what has the research shown thus far with those who are engaged in the clinical trials of the booster shot. Now, does it? Some articles are saying it increases antibodies from 5-fold to 10-fold, and that may be. But if 5-fold is enough to ward off, a serious illness which leads to hospitalization or death, then, do we really need to get to that 10-fold level of immunity? Yeah, so the FDA can certainly, authorize the emergency use authorization, but even if they do, it will still be up to health officials, the State Department of Health, as well as, providers to make the decision as to, whether to make this available and whether it's a good right for the population. Now, providers, individual providers may have patients who are immunocompromised, and they may feel that it's a very good idea for them. But for other patients who are relatively well and stable, the healthcare provider can decide that it's not in their best interest to go ahead with that booster shot, and so they can advise them differently.